What's up, everyone? It's the interview queen Alicia Toot here, and be sure to watch True Heel Heat.
This is the knockout artist, Chris Hero, and if you're looking for some true heel heat, you better listen to them boys.
Hey guys, this is Rosa, and welcome to True Heel Heat.
What's going on, everybody? This is your former AEW World Heavyweight Champion. Once a champion, always a champion. Swerve Strickland. Whose house? Swerve's house. You're watching True Heel Heat podcast.
Hello. It is me, your True Heel Phenom, SP3. We are live on the True Heel Heat YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter for NJPW Windy City Riot 2025 review, discussing this past Friday's show from Chicago, Illinois, and it was Hiroshi Tanahashi's last match in the United States of America. We got a lot to discuss from the latest edition of NJPW of America, but of course, to do that, we have our trio here with you today, the never overweight 6-man tag team champions of Talking New Japan Pro Wrestling here on the True Heel Heat YouTube channel. First up, we got the MC of the past, present, and future of New Japan Pro Wrestling here on THH. It is J-News. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. Doing all right. It's been an early day for me. Lots of news, lots of work, things of that nature. Lots of things to wrap my head around and try to understand as I tried to be even keeled. But as I woke up and I got onto my Twitter feed this morning and I saw the emotional outpour from our co-host here about the happenings this morning. I could not bear it, and we will get to talking about it. But as per the usual, thank you everybody for tuning in and watching. Everybody in the chat, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good brother J-News back at it again here with SP3 True Heel Heat. Sanal, it's your take, your turn to go.
Yes, we have the most positive New Japan Pro Wrestling fan in the world. I don't know how positive she's going to be after today's news, but she is. Sanal, how are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, you'd think after like 3 years of just people going and going and going that I'd get used to it, that I'd wake up, I was up at 7:30, getting ready to start work at 8, open Twitter. Oh no, the black lion mark. And it's never good news when that comes up. Yeah. And actually, you know what? Before, that wasn't the first thing I saw. I saw a Tokyo News article. And it had Jeff Cobb's picture. And before I even clicked on that, I was like, that's what happened. And we'll probably discuss it later. I just got a whole lot of emotions. If you follow me on social media at wrestling_chat, you would have seen the day of emotions that I had and all the thoughts. Yeah.
Literally right after J-News mentioned it, I was like, yeah, I haven't looked at your Twitter today. And then I scrolled a little bit as you were talking to see everything. So don't worry, we're going to get right to that news. But before that, of course, we appreciate y'all for joining us live. Appreciate y'all if you're watching us on demand. Remember to show your appreciation back. The simplest way possible is by dropping the thumbs up on this video. You can also share this video with all your wrestling fans, friends, and family on all your favorite social media platforms. If you're new to the True Heel Heat YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell to stay notified for all the great content here. We always cover New Japan Pro Wrestling, whether it be the major shows or the tournaments. Previews and reviews will be here on the True Heel Heat YouTube channel. So welcome if you are new. We got Jeremy Orr in the chat, who's a newbie in the chat. Good to see you. I think you commented on one of our past previews for New Japan Pro Wrestling. He says New Japan is the best. So we appreciate y'all. If you're with us live, sound off in the live chat like Jeremy. And of course, if you're feeling generous, you want to give back to what we do here, you want to show your support to the True Heel Heat YouTube channel in the best way possible so we can continue to give you this New Japan Pro Wrestling content, you can do so with a super chat donation. Any dollar amount matters. It goes back to the contributors that you see on screen with us here, and we always appreciate the support. We got I Make Beats in the chat joining us saying, hey guys, just dropping in. What an emotional end to a great show. I enjoyed this a lot. Thank you, Ace. We also got Dustin who says, whoa, J-News, what did your barber do to you? You're all freshly minted. You're clean today, sir.
Yeah, it happens once a year, you know what I'm saying? And, sometimes I kind of try to look my age and all that jazz. So it is what it is. But appreciate the shout outs.
Yeah, we didn't get it in when you were here for the Dynasty preview or review, but send J-News some late birthday love. His birthday just passed, so send him some late birthday love as well. We also got in the chat here, I Make Beats, who says Take made Tanahashi look like a beast, and he showed out. What a match. We got a bunch of other comments, but before we highlight those other comments, let's just get through it, guys. Let's just talk about, yes, this morning there was the infamous black background, white post on social media that New Japan Pro Wrestling was having a press conference earlier today, and the news was dropped. Jeff Cobb has been granted his departure from New Japan Pro Wrestling and will be leaving effective immediately, with his final match being this Saturday in Korakuen Hall, April 19th. He will go one-on-one with the president of New Japan Pro Wrestling, the aforementioned Hiroshi Tanahashi, in his final match in New Japan Pro Wrestling. This news comes just 9 days after Jeff Cobb and Callum Newman won the IWGP Tag Team Championships in Ryogoku Sumo Hall at NJPW Sakura Genesis, defeating Tetsuya Naito and Hiromu Takahashi of Los Ingobernables de Japón. And, Jeff Cobb we talked about it on our Sakura Genesis review. He made the whole big deal that, the internet said I was leaving. What happened, internet? And
then he leaves.
He's like, seems like the internet was right. He
fucks off after having a go at the dirt sheet saying, you know what, don't listen to that. And then he leaves anyway.
He did leave. He is gone from New Japan Pro Wrestling. Newman and Cobb have relinquished the IWGP Tag Team Championships. A new champion will be crowned in a couple of weeks' time. But yeah, this was an abrupt departure. This is probably one of the more abrupt departures from New Japan because, the news had been out for over a month now that Jeff Cobb, since the I think it was like late March. The news dropped from
it was
Fightful
just before the New Japan Cup, I think, because obviously everyone was saying he was going to leave, and it was his last show, and then he got announced for that, and then that happened again, and then when he lost that, it was again, and then he won the tag titles, and it felt like every time new rumors came up, something squashed that, and then obviously now it's official.
Yeah, it was Fightful Select who put out the report that Jeff Cobb was on the WWE Eternal roster, meaning that he was imminently, coming to WWE, and this came at the same time that Jeff Cobb was having a lot of cryptic messages in his post-match pressers that he would do for New Japan Pro Wrestling. He said that he was leaving for a while and then came back for the New Japan Cup, and like Sanal said, there was the back and forth with the internet said one thing, Jeff Cobb and NJPW did another thing, but it is official. Jeff Cobb is gone from New Japan Pro Wrestling. Sanal, let's put all your tweets into words here and give us your reaction to the news of Jeff Cobb departing from New Japan Pro Wrestling today.
Yeah, it's a weird one because I feel like every time they announced that Guy Kokujin's going to leave. So I feel like I've dwelled enough. We've spoken so much about, the money versus thing. I'm not going to talk about that because I feel like that's a discussion we've had every single time someone's left. I think what's annoying for me, and again, it's not the money, it feels very abrupt. Yeah. Like you said, it's a very abrupt thing. And the issue not only comes, so I know there's a lot of talk of why put the belts on Cobb if he was going to leave, but something feels odd about that because not only has he won the belts with Callum, he was teasing an IWGP World title match with Goto like a week ago.
Yes.
And that's the thing. So, like, I'm not just saying this because I love Jeff Cobb. And, like, when I met him at Royal Quest, he was an awesome guy. And he's always really active on social media and stuff. But it's generally like, because, okay, again, I don't know how much Callum and New Japan knew. But when Callum, because I watched the press conference. And Callum seemed genuinely pissed. And, again, I don't know, this is, like, something, but that is my thing of like, if they didn't know, what suddenly sparked this? Because Jeff's tweets and the way he spoke, it firmly felt like he was just sticking a middle finger up at all the dirt sheets that have announced it. But then if they did know about it, like a lot of the internet said, why put it on Jeff and Callum to start with? Not just out of respect for the titles, but out of respect for Callum. Like, he's been working his ass off. You have him go from being a young lion of the empire, being a junior heavyweight, then working up. He had an injury to give him the titles just to say 10 days later, you've got to relinquish it. It feels like while I love Jeff Cobb, it feels like a massive kick in the face to Callum Newman, who has been improving time after time. And yeah, imagine your first title defense, like your first belt being stripped off you, like not even 2 weeks later, because your partner decides to fuck off someone.
Yeah, it's I have to. This is all my objective kind of explaining of this.
Yeah, see, mine's not objective. Mine's not objective. Mine just what's going on.
my whole thing is I've been very critical of Bushiroad and New Japan Pro Wrestling, especially this season, because this is unlike anything that we've seen over like the last 10 years. The last 10 years of New Japan Pro Wrestling, we've seen around this time of the year, people would have reports of them, their contracts coming up, and then we would have the reports like simultaneously of people re-signing or people going. And this whole thing is very strange. I do agree with Sanal. It's very abrupt, it's very strange. It goes against what was the plan for Dontaku. Dontaku was looking like it was going to be Hirooki Goto versus Jeff Cobb for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship.
And can I just say, like, I kind of also thought that if they didn't do it at Dontaku, they would have done it at Dominion, and I thought Jeff was going to win the title.
It was the plan for Dontaku. Literally commentary on this show said it. They said it. They was like Goto.
It wasn't like paying attention.
No, it's okay. They said on commentary, they was like Goto won, and they was like he's got Jeff Cobb next, and that will probably be at Dontaku. So that was the plan.
That make that even weirder. That's
exactly. This means that all of this happened over the weekend. And what it tells me is that New Japan and Jeff Cobb couldn't agree on a number. That's what it really comes down to. Because a lot of these guys that are working without contracts right now are working on per appearance. And per appearance means you have to pay me a certain amount to do this show. And what this whole situation and how abrupt it is, it tells me, as being someone that kind of has his finger on the business side of all of this, New Japan and Jeff Cobb probably didn't come to an agreement on a number for him to work Dontaku or the Dontaku tour. And this is why it's very abrupt on how all of this is happening. But J-News, your reaction.
Oh man. Look, listen, I've said this before, and I'll continue to say this until the end of time. I am always behind my good brothers getting paid, right? I'm always behind that. But there comes a time when your favorite wrestling promotion starts to become sort of a joke, a meme, in a sense. I stated this when the news came about Naito being a freelancer, right? And all this stuff. And people, oh yeah, it's April Fool's. It's April Fool's. Don't worry about it. It's not that big of a deal. It's a big deal. These guys need to get paid. These guys need contracts. They need security. They need to have that frame of mind that they don't have to worry about getting paid in an envelope once they walk out the door after doing the job. They can just get it direct deposited in their bank accounts every two weeks. That's the way they do it. You know what I'm saying? My whole thing with the whole Jeff Cobb situation, though, specifically, like the both of you have said, the abruptness about it, right? That's one. And secondarily, it's like nowadays, now we have to normalize this as being just how business is being done, which sucks, to be quite honest. But this is just it now, right? This is not something that's not happened before. Like it happened with Stephanie Vaquera last year or whatever. It's happening with him now. All jokes aside, my fear is that it's going to happen with other New Japan talents the rest of within the next couple of months. The last time they had, the reason as to why I keep saying what I say about David Finley is the last time they had one of those dog pound cage matches, guys left, guys retired, guys went to other companies, things of that nature. I have the same feeling this time around after this dog. Someone's leaving after this, and it has nothing to do with Jeff Cobb. At the end of the day, Jeff Cobb's a United Empire member. He signed his contract with WWE. Whatever. I have a feeling someone from either the Bulls,
and he's not evil, sadly.
Right.
Sadly,
I wish it was that. I wish it was that. Honestly,
it's none of the House of Torture guys because they're all Japanese guys, so they're not going anywhere, right? But there's non-Japanese, Gaikokujin wrestlers on the War Dog side, and they don't have contracts. They can go wherever the hell they want, and at the end of the day, if you don't lock dudes down, they're gonna go where they're offered the most money at the end of the day, or at least offered some sense of security. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, it's tough to see him go. Would I have, if I had my druthers about it, do I want Jeff Cobb in the WWE? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
You know what? I was saying this. I hate when they leave, but at this point, especially because we've discussed this specifically, for guys like Zack Sabre Jr. and Jeff Cobb, you know, on the older end, I just think I don't know if WWE is the right fit for them.
Yeah, it's a tough way to see. Like, well, is Jeff going to go to NXT? Is he going to be main roster? Like, what's going to be the deal and all that stuff? And it's like, you know, we'll see when it happens. But it's just a strange pairing in my mind, and to think about that in that way. With younger talent, it's different because you can mold and make them into whatever you want. You can change characters and names. Jeff's in his 40s, dude. Like, what's Jeff going to do now? Turn it around? Is he gonna have another 10 years left in his career? I doubt that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
I guess you can kind of compare it to like Carl Fredericks. Like, well, again, like I've not watched it, and I again don't know whether he made the right choice. He's young. He can change his name. He can spend more time in developmental, changing who he is. Because to be fair, he wasn't in New Japan for that long.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas Jeff Cobb, like you both said, he's been wrestling for years. Even before he was in New Japan, he had a massive career. And it's like, what route are they going to go? Because I think SP3, didn't you say you thought NXT? Like when we were discussing.
I think he should go to NXT because I feel like that's the place where he would get the biggest push and be the most prominent. If he goes to the main roster, Raw or SmackDown, he'll have a big introduction because that's what they do now with guys who have any type of like AEW exposure. And if you come from New Japan, you have a better chance of going directly to the main roster. But I think that he can work out a situation where he gets paid main roster money to go to NXT and have a more prominent role in a place that needs top guys for their men's division. Because they have their three top guys in the men's division is in the main event on Saturday for Stand and Deliver in Obafemi, Javon Evans, and Trick Williams. But I say Trick Williams is probably getting called up right after WrestleMania. And Obafemi is probably not too far behind. The only one out of the three that's going to be there for probably another year or so is Javon Evans. So you're going to need guys to fill in that void. And yes, they have guys like your Ricky Saints, who's going to be there for a little while longer, that can go into that position. But you have other guys like a Ethan Page who could have filled that position. He's probably going to get called up to the main roster because he's pretty much done everything he can in less than a year in NXT. So he's going to get called up to the main roster. So you have to fill in these spots. Wes Lee needs to be on the main roster. Should have been there probably a year ago. I think that Jeff Cobb can fill that void and be a top guy in NXT for a year before he goes to the main roster. I think that he will have success in WWE because WWE is not this young man's game. Like, it's not the guys that are getting the latest guys that have been pushed to a prominent role on the main roster or 40-year-old LA Knight, 41-year-old Damian Priest. Like, all these guys are in their 40s. He's right around the age that WWE would push you. WWE don't push no young guys. It's few and far between. You're in your 20s and WWE decides to push you as a top guy. You are more likely to get pushed at a top guy in your 40s because they then trust you a little bit more because you have that season and you have that experience. So I think it is the right time because this is the final time that Jeff Cobb would get a big money deal. Anything past, like he would have signed for another year or two, there's a chance that WWE wouldn't even look in your direction. But right now, WWE wants to give you a big money deal. It is the right time for him to go. I'm all about the guys making as much money as possible, and I've said it for a while now. New Japan ain't giving up no money, it seems.
They're not, and I can agree with that last point. The only thing is, obviously, right? We have no idea if this is a big money deal. Over the weekend, there was some other news that dropped about Stephanie Vaquera's contract shit going on between the comparisons between what AEW was going to give her when she got in the WWE, and she went for the dream instead of the money, which is obviously her decision. That was her goal. Cool.
That's her decision. All I could give is my opinion. That was stupid.
Well,
That's my opinion.
Sorry, I thought that as well. I was like, that's a stupid idea.
fair. But in this particular case, obviously we're not going to know what the numbers are with Jeff Cobb specifically and all that stuff. But
Unless
I'm
Jeff
sure.
Cobb wants to tell us.
So right, and you know and it's within his right to do so. But I think it's the point that I made earlier about the security aspect of it all. Right, getting that guaranteed money, understanding when it's coming in and when and if it's going to come in and things of that nature, and also to piggyback off of another point that I thought of while we were all talking about this, the travel shit has to get to these guys at some point. You know what I'm saying? That travel back and forth between, especially with Jeff Cobb, because Cobb was living in California for a long period of time. I'm not sure if he's still based out of there now, but that travel,
he moved to Japan when AEW offered him a deal. I think in like 2021, 2022.
I think he moved back though. I think he moved back to the States though. So
maybe he still has a place in Japan. I just know that. I know that for sure.
I was gonna say he doesn't really post much of traveling to and from, and like for example, when he had time off, rather than being back in America, he was back in Japan.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, you know, he's gonna have to make the move back anyway. So,
but I think, but on your thing, J-News, it's not even just because obviously I did the travel to Japan. It's quite a lot, but it's not even that. It's the travel within Japan. You hear about the guys who are like, oh, I think especially Callum has been quite vocal about it, that he doesn't match, and then they get on a bus and they got to ride for 12 hours, and that takes a toll on anyone, especially so like, for example, like if he's in NXT, are they based in one place?
They're based in one place. It's Orlando, and then they have a couple of like shows where they do one. But anywhere he goes in WWE, he's working 1 to 2 times a week. That is so much better.
And I assume they go on planes, don't they? They don't take like little buses driven by Marty Asami. You know
the travel is going to be less and less stressful, especially for a big guy like him. Like it's going to be better for his body being in WWE.
Yeah. Look, man, I think that, like I said, go get the bread, man. Go get the money. Go get that lettuce. I just wonder, you know, if he gets thrust into the main event scene, cool and all. I just wonder how he's going to get booked with a guy his style, his size. He's not the biggest of guys from a height perspective, but he's a very strong dude. Obviously, he's nimble and things of that nature. Style is much different than what anybody else in the WWE does. So, you know, we'll see. But I think for New Japan, they got to get a hold of how to better negotiate these deals with the talents and the lengths of them, and not have to run into these abrupt departures, because it just puts a wrench in everybody's deals and ideas and freaking creative and everything else in between. You know, like Sanal was saying before, like you can, I don't know if it was kayfabe or not based on the press conference, but Cal Newman was visibly upset and whatnot, and I was like, I can't, like, for the life of me, I can't understand in 2025 how folks don't know they're gonna make a move, like especially in a business like wrestling, from one day to the next like that.
No, but especially with two companies, it's different. For example, if you're saying AEW and WWE, because you're in America, but you're making, and if, for example, Jeff Cobb is still in Japan staying there, it's making a massive move that is not just something you can decide overnight.
Right. It's like, dude, if you're right, if both of you are right, if he had his place in Japan, you're moving back to the States. That takes time at the end of the day. Like, to make that decision isn't, hey man, yesterday was the 13th, today's the 14th. Let's get it done. Like, nah, dude, that takes time. Like, you have to let somebody know. But I don't know if he felt disrespected by Bushiroad with what the negotiations were. A lot of this stuff does become personal at the end of the day, especially when things don't go a certain way for folks and stuff like that. So obviously we're not in anybody's heads, but it's just disappointing, man. It really, really is. And hope nothing but the best for Mr. Jeff Cobb at the end of the day. And New Japan, get your ducks in a row and do something, do better at the end of the day, because this can't continue to happen.
I was saying this on social media. It's the case of, like, I don't know how Japanese fans feel, but as like a foreign fan, you don't want, like I mentioned this on my, it's the first thing I kind of mentioned, you don't want to get invested with these foreign wrestlers. I think a lot of people are similar with me, is like, maybe you got exceptions like Zack Sabre Jr. and maybe now Francesco Akira. Because again, Francesco Akira, he's over there. He's basically fluent in Japanese now. So you can see he has a love for that. But for people like us who, like, everyone knows I always do these meet and greets, and then you really bond with these wrestlers of the ones you watch, and you want to invest your time because you support them. And it comes a kick in the teeth every time you see them leaving, and it's like one after the other, and it's like, and I assume it'll impact a lot of Japanese fans, because a lot of them love Jeff Cobb, and I think that's what New Japan has to think. It's the case of, oh, you want to keep the wrestlers because they're good at things, but you want to keep them because the fans want them, and you're gonna start, and fans are just gonna keep getting tired of investing money, and like, I wanted to buy the Empire t-shirt, but I'm like, well, if they're all going, is there going to be an Empire for me to buy a t-shirt for? Like, what's the point?
It's tough.
To make a last point, and we'll get there when we talk about the main event, but Tanahashi made a point at the end of Windy City Riot to basically let the fans know that New Japan's in good hands with the talent that was around the ring. Obviously, Jeff wasn't there, but at the end of the day, there was non-Japanese talent around that ring, and if they end up leaving at some point, it's like, yeah, the New Japan's always been built obviously strongly around their Japanese talent, but the gaijin talent has always added so much to what New Japan does, and to not have guys around for long periods of time or something that's substantial, it's like, what are you gonna do? You can't really promise the fans that everything is in good hands. And nowadays, and specifically within the last 10 to 12 years, Japanese talent is going over to the States. So it's like, you can't guarantee.
With Okada, Takeshita, you know what I mean?
It's like, you can't guarantee the fans that, look around the ring like, yeah, I'm looking. Some of these guys are talented enough to freaking be over here. You know what I'm saying? And Tony Khan's got all that money. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what Nick Khan's trying to get.
But at least with AEW, there's an opportunity for them to come back. Even though there might be an opportunity even if you sign with WWE, because that was the other news I wanted to bring up before we get into the show. Jeremy Orr brought up why was The Rock wearing an NJPW shirt when they work with AEW? Thoughts? I mean, the Rock wearing the NJPW shirt has nothing to do with NJPW because they're very loyal with their partnership. But PW Insider did put out a report after this when they were asked about The Rock wearing the NJPW shirt, and they said that their WWE sources says The Rock doesn't do anything for no reason. There's a reason why he was wearing the shirt.
He's one of those people that is very strategic about what he wears, the things that he markets, and everything else in between. Don't get it twisted. But if there's one thing I do know about my man Dewey, he is a fan of professional wrestling. At the end of the day, everything. He is not a Vince McMahon type. He does not just watch the WWE. He watches everything.
He's been on an Instagram Live where he admitted he watches AEW.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, I feel like, I feel like Dwayne does that obviously to understand what's going on in the landscape of the business today, and also he's scouting talent at the end of the day. So he's head of the board. So I'm New Japan, no doubt. I'll throw the fist up for New Japan all day. But if I got the opportunity to go pick some of their talent and just offer them a little bit more bread, I'm gonna go ahead and do it. He did have the eyebrow raised in the picture. So
maybe Dwayne was the one who called a fellow Hawaiian star.
I've seen that on social media literally just now. There's a lot of looking at the Rubik's Cube and everything going on there. So
we're gonna have Jeff Cobb become another member of the freaking bloodline. What is this? Come on now.
Oh God, imagine.
Let's go. Now he's gonna get pushed. But we got a super chat donation here before we get started from Genesis J. Thank you so much, Genesis J, one of our big supporters of our New Japan content. He says, happy birthday, happy boss dog, J-News, prayer emoji. What the fuck, Jeff Cobb got to go. No worries, Genesis J.
Pretty
Thank you so
cool.
much for the super chat donation. All right, let's finally get into the Windy City Riot from Chicago, Illinois, the Wintrust Arena. What did you guys think about the crowd in Chicago on Friday, Sanal?
Yeah, it was good. You know what? Generally with the show, I don't think it was the best New Japan Strong show, but it wasn't the best. I really enjoyed it. I always judge the crowds and like the whole show if I can stay awake, because I've had New Japan Strong shows where I've gone off before, like the semi-main event. This kept me interested. The crowd, you know, I'm gonna bring him up. I'm gonna bring him up now. The Jushin Thunder Liger in the crowd.
This dude was a maniac. He was out of his goddamn mind.
He was starting beef with Naito, and then he got an interaction with Zaka. I was like, who is this man? Is this actually Jushin Thunder Liger? The security was going to go, because he was ready to pounce on Naito, who was just taking the absolute piss, and the security guard was ready to come at him. I was like, this is amazing.
I love
you, Jushin Thunder Liger, man?
We need Jushin Thunder Liger man to comment in the live chat or comment in the comment section.
Help us find him. Help us find him, please.
We're going to find you and we're going to interview you on why did you react like this to Windy City Riot.
What beef do you have with Tetsuya Naito?
J-News, what about you? What did you think about the crowd in Chicago?
I thought the crowd was strong. Yet again, for folks who've been with us for a long period of time when it comes to New Japan Strong shows, I always nitpick and bitch about the freaking production values. They gotta mic the crowd better. One, because they had a full house at the end of the day, and yes, you can tell from the roar, but it could have sounded better. Fix the volume issue you guys have on New Japan World. By the way, I don't want to have to crank up my goddamn speaker system to 30 for no damn reason. You know what I'm saying? That's just dumb. You know, so there's that of it, but the crowd was dope. I appreciated them. They were behind it, especially for the main event. And really made the match more emotional and stuff like that. So I appreciated the crowd in Chicago.
So we'll go through the minor matches on this card a little bit quicker than we usually do. But opening up, we had the pre-show, which had our NJPW Academy Young Lions in action. Zane J going up against CJ Tino for the Strong Survivor Championship or Strong Survivor Award, whatever you want to call it. Jay had the advantage in the early going. CJ made a comeback in a running lariat. He attempted a flying drop kick, but Tino was instead caught by Jay, and a rope break prevented him going for the Boston Crab. But after a failed sharpshooter attempt, it was Zane Jane who locked on the New Japan Young Lion special that is the Boston Crab to put CJ Tino away. This was a shorter matchup, but what you kind of expect from the Strong Survivor matchups. I gave the matchup 2 stars, but post-match we got some big news as Zane J congratulated Tino on a hard-fought matchup, and then he relinquished his Strong Survivor Championship, announcing that he would be moving his attention to competing in Japan, believing that the new talents of the New Japan Dojo to be ready and hungry for the new belt. So he's given it up to the NJPW Academy members that are still here in the States as he moves on to Japan. J-News, what do you think about this matchup here and Zane J's announcement?
I'm gonna concentrate on Zane J's announcement. The match wasn't too much of anything. It didn't even last the usual 8 minutes, so that was a little bit disturbing. But Zane J giving up his Strong Survivor mantle after I don't know how many months Matt Vandegrift had it for. You know what I'm saying?
He had it for like a year.
So bingo, there you go. And Matt Vandegrift was used as an extra on AEW TV. So where the hell is he at nowadays? You know what I'm saying? Zane J, I think, and I'm assuming at this point, this is me speculating and things of that nature. Zane J concentrating on taking his time to concentrate on his Noge Dojo training. I feel is coming with one of the current dojo boys going on excursion sometime soon. So I think that would be the flip at that point, because a lot, between Daiki Nagai and Murashima seems to be coming out on top a lot nowadays and things of that nature. And I think he's had he's maxed out, to be quite honest, at what he's going to be doing as a young lion. So Murashima might be seeing himself on excursion soon enough. So we'll probably be seeing more of Zane J on New Japan proper, ringside and things of that nature, and doing the young lion bouts in Japan. So shouts to Zane J for following that particular road, which is not common nowadays. And good luck to him at the end of the day. So yeah, just want to say that.
So no.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get invested in because he's probably just going to leave in a few years anyway.
She's got PTSD now with any foreigners.
Traumatized by the foreign talent. No, it's good. You know what? Like J-News said, it's not standard as we've seen recently, but it'll be good for him to get into Japan, learn the ropes, and yeah, like J-News said, it was either a toss up between Murashima or Nagai who's going to go, and yeah, it does seem like Murashima is the next one, and it would make sense to have one young lion go and to bring someone else in. I'm trying to think, like, obviously the last Gaikokujin young lion was Oscar, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he works within the system, because again, it's not for everyone. It's very different from the New Japan Academy, but it will, if he can thrive there, it will do him the world of good.
Absolutely. And then we had as the opener for the main card, TJP, another person who's working without a contract right now in New Japan Pro Wrestling. He went up against filthy Tom Lawler, J-News' favorite wrestler. Lawler had the early advantage, keeping TJP grounded, but the United Empire member worked from underneath after getting his leg worked over. TJP pushed with a sharpshooter and soon gained traction after snapping Lawler's shoulder back, worked over the arm for a bit. Lawler crushed TJP with a tombstone power driver, but TJP kept fighting. He inked a comeback. He hits the knee, and then followed up with the Mamba Splash for the 1-2-3 to pick up the victory here. Decent little opener to the show as TJP picks up a win, as he would be in some title contention later on in the show, but he had to get the win here. This was just fine for what it was. I gave it 3 stars. Sanaa, what did you think about this opener here?
You know I'm on the J. I just don't get Tom Lawler. Why was he wrestling in suspenders?
I was like, he looks like a filthy white Urkel.
That's good. I like that. Yeah, it was a fine match for what it was. It'll be interesting to see what TJP does. Obviously, going for, he's a free agent, but I can't imagine he's going back to WWE because obviously been there, done that. He got the T-shirt. I don't know if AEW would be interested in him either. Maybe this freelance thing is more that he wants to pick and choose which ones he does, because obviously people don't know TJP has a family, he has kids and things, so it might work more to his benefit. And if he wants to focus on that, we saw TJP later in the night as well. So obviously, again, with Cobb leaving, there's questions about the Empire. And interestingly, I'm going to bring this up quickly because after the press conference, Walker said he retweeted it and said something about Callum wanting to take leadership. And actually, Callum retweeted it saying there's no leadership in the Empire. So is that still going to fit with TJP? What's going to happen? Are we still going to have an Empire implosion? Because I thought, when it seemed like Jeff was staying and they won the titles, I was like, oh, the Empire's safe. I don't think that's the case anymore.
Yeah, with Jeff being the latest member, because they've lost, in the past year, they lost
20.
Aussie Open,
300.
Will Ospreay, Jeff Cobb. That's a lot of key losses, and TJP is kind of hanging on by the limb. There was the report from Fightful last week. We talked about it on the flagship podcast that he turned down the option to be in the Best of Super Juniors tournament because he didn't want to do the tour, and he's working without a contract right now, so he has a couple of more dates on his New Japan Pro Wrestling deal, but we'll see what happens here. J-News, what did you think about TJP and Tom Lawler?
Yeah, it was what it was, bro. At the end of the day, I mean, there's really not much I can say to elevate this match from where it was. It did have filthy Tom Lawler in the match, so that was an automatic downgrade in my eyes.
That was like 0 stars for me.
It gets no stars. It's just indifference at this point with Tom Lawler. TJP, bro, I hope you're well. I hope that business is booming, and that I see you somewhere outside of a New Japan ring soon. But what he's
Where would you
doing now,
see him in news? Where do
I
you
don't
think?
know. It's like you said, the WWE thing. He been there, done that. Got the T-shirt. He bounced. AEW's never seemed to be interested. I think he can always go back to TNA if he wanted to be quite honest. I think he's done spells with MLW as well, if I'm not mistaken. So he's got options here. But at the end of the day, I'm not sure what he wants to do, man. And to the point that Sonal was making earlier about there being a lack of leadership with the Empire, they were supposed to be more of a conglomeration in the sense of everyone made the whole. But now it's like Calum's talking about there is no leadership. There needs to be leadership. I want to be the leader. I want to take the lead. And it's like you're putting a lot of pressure on your own shoulders, young man. Don't do that to yourself and get overwhelmed and, not end up where you want to go. You know what I'm saying? It's enough.
He's still so young and early in his career. Like,
yeah, it's enough that he's taken the beatings that he has from Naito over the last several months. And with how hot Goto's been going, how good is that going to be for him? You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
I guess speaking of it, that's probably like a shit. We need a match for the show without Jeff Cobb. He's one that makes sense.
He's filling in for Jeff at this point. It's a great opportunity for him. Don't get me wrong. This is the time that he needs to, if he really wants to take that ownership and have that initiative and be that leader of the United Empire. Brother, I've been backing you since you were 16. Show the fuck out. He's
in there with one of the top 10 best wrestlers in the world right now, in Hirooki Goto, who's had great matches with Hiroshi Tanahashi and Yuji Nagata. I have faith in Goto to deliver something good.
Two men who were on their last legs, who are like pushing the older age. He brought the fire out of them.
Two men that have about a knee and a half between them.
That's being nice. That's being nice.
And to your point, obviously Goto gives people great matches, but from Callum's standpoint, show the hell out. Show that you can hang. Don't be another shooter. That's all I'm saying. I'm going to leave it there. Don't be another shooter. That's all I'm saying.
Next up on the main card, you had Azumi going up against Mina Shirakawa. Shirakawa found the upper hand in the early going. Dropkick by Azumi gave her control. Shirakawa was playing her little mind games, working over the knees, doing her hip swivels. A collision by Azumi and an uppercut by Shirakawa laid out both women with the crowd really behind them in the early going. Azumi looked like she was on the verge of victory after getting trapped in the figure four and making it to the ropes. She was able to grab at the arm, get the arm bar submission, but Mina was able to get to the ropes. Then we had on the outside a big tornado DDT by Shirakawa off the ring apron. That's when they were at the count of 15. Both women were laid out at that point, helpless. They were unable to answer the 20 count, and we got a very abrupt, a very surprising double count out finish here. Before that, these women were like going fast paced. It was so much fun, them working with one another, having a good matchup, working over the limbs, with Azumi going after the arm, with Shirakawa going after the leg. But that finish kind of blew mine. I was not happy about it, and neither was that Chicago crowd, who booed the ending of the matchup, booed the referee. Mina was pissed afterwards, getting in the referee's face. So was Azumi. But we would get the announcement later in the show by Veda Scott, says that she had been informed by Rocky Romero that at Resurgence on Friday, May 9th, it will be Mercedes Moné defending the NJPW Strong Women's Championship against Mina Shirakawa and Azumi. Despite neither woman winning this number one contenders matchup, they will both be in the matchup in a three-way against Mercedes coming up in Ontario, California. Like I said, I really enjoyed this matchup for when it was going on. I did not like the finish, so it brings it down a bit, but I'm still going to give it 3.5 stars. A good matchup, but could have been great if we got a finish, if they could decide between the two who they wanted to win here. So now, what did you think about Azumi versus Mina?
So pissed off. I was so angry with that finish. I was obsessed. Like, you guys know that. Like, I love Azumi and Mina. Like, they're like two people very special to my heart. And I was loving this. This was a pure exhibition of Stardom wrestling. Like, you know what? The fast, the furious, the impactful. Like I said on my own review, that we always say the juniors in New Japan are fast and dynamic. But actually, these Stardom women they top that. Do you know what I mean? Within their matches. And for it to end the way it did, it's quite interesting. I saw a lot of discourse about it, that it had to be, and I don't know, this is politics and stuff. Someone said, and quite a people agreed, the reason it's a three-way is because obviously Mina and Mercedes signed to AEW, and by default, is it going to be Azumi who's going to get the pin? Now, I hope it's not the case, because I would love Azumi to win, but I know a lot of people are thinking, is that the reason for a triple threat?
I don't know, because I've seen a lot of people. I did see that discourse. A lot of people thinking that they're making this a three-way because they're finally going to have Mercedes lose, but without losing. So they'll have someone else to be pinned in the matchup. I don't necessarily think Mercedes is going to lose this NJPW Strong Women's Championship, because I think that it's a part of her character now to be this belt collector, and she's been such a big draw for New Japan of America. It would have to be Mercedes' decision that she's done working with New Japan more than New Japan. If New Japan is making this decision, then they're more stupid than I thought they were. J-News, what did you think about this matchup here?
Yeah, I think at this point, depending as to where New Japan wants to go, I'll talk about the Mercedes bit in a minute. But for the match itself, I thought it was a good match. As usual, they don't the ladies on New Japan shows don't get enough time, so they were strapped for time in this sense. I went into this thinking Azumi was going to get the win, but I also had it in my mind where it was like, where do they want to go with Mercedes being the Strong Women's Champion? And if she just had her match with Mina, she did beat Azumi last year.
She did not beat Azumi. She had a three-way. She had a three-way then. That's why we both were going for Azumi, because we never got the Azumi versus Mercedes matchup.
Right. So we wanted the one-on-one, and we didn't get. Now we're not getting the one-on-one, and I feel like I don't know where they're going with this, man. I just don't. I don't know where they're going with this, and it's been a banner year for Mercedes. I agree with SP3. I don't think she loses her belt here in this upcoming three-way match in Resurgence. I don't think she loses it. But the why as to we're not getting a one-on-one match with Mercedes and Azumi is a little bit puzzling. Is really more where I wanted to land.
I mean, this is a good note here from Dustin to explain. He says Mercedes won't lose, but it could also be that Azumi might win the second major title in Stardom.
Sure. I can see that. I can see that for sure. Being that SLK's got her strap and things of that nature, so that makes the most sense. No one's beat Mayu as of late. Maybe that can be a road she goes to. Kamitani's got the second belt, right? I think.
The red belt, Saya Kamatani has the top title in Stardom. She's facing Tam Nakano next weekend at
career versus
All-Star Grand Kingdom. Loser leaves Stardom match, basically.
There you go. So there's that. Bright future for Azumi's only 22, but she's been wrestling for like 8 years. So
it blows my mind. Like, because if you think about it, like her and Mina are on the opposite, because Mina started later.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's insane.
Yeah, man. But
Azumi's been wrestling for over a decade now. She started when she was 11.
Yeah, those girls start very, very early in Japan. So, but yeah, the match was cool. They went the high speed route, which I really, really liked. That's always a banger from a Stardom perspective and stuff like that. I just don't know what they're gonna do with if they keep the belt on Mercedes. They've got to give her new contenders. They got to get her new challengers, because this is the second time she's facing Azumi in a triple threat, and obviously this is the second time or the third time I think she's going to go up against Mina in some sort of a match.
No, second.
Second time
after Wrestle Dynasty.
Yeah, because I thought 2025 was going to be the year of Micah, but that didn't happen. So that hasn't happened. So and they got Momo in there, obviously, in the interim from bit to bit. So and Hazuki. So I feel like getting other girls spotlighted as well out of Stardom would definitely be a cool bit for them, especially to have some sort of a spotlight here in America. So we'll see.
Speaking of championships, our next matchup was for the Strong Openweight Tag Team Championships. World-class Wrecking Crew, Joel Nelson and Royce Isaac defending against the Intergalactic Jet Setters, Kevin the Jet Knight and Kushida. Nelson and Kushida collided with Isaacs assisting the former with a sneak kick to the challenger to give them control early on. They then isolated Knight for a while. At this point of the matchup, we saw that TJP was seated at ringside eating some popcorn watching the festivities. Isaacs dropped Knight with a backbreaker assisted by Nelson, cartwheeling Nelson into the corner. Kushida followed with a Hurricane Rana attempt, but was caught. Yet Kevin the Jet Knight came up and did a flat-footed Hurricane Rana, so it was like a double Hurricane Rana by the Jet Setters. That looked great. World-class Wrecking Crew slammed Knight with a combined power bomb combination. They played to the crowd, leading to Nelson getting dropped with the satellite DDT by the Jet. The Jet and Kushida started working together. They did their assisted Doomsday Device drop kick, got a near fall like that. But we had a nice little ending sequence here. Kushida went for his satellite DDT on Isaacs. Kushida drove Isaacs into the referee, but suffered a suplex instead. The World-class Wrecking Crew used the distraction of the referee to take control. They cheated to get the win using nefarious means to get the victory here, putting down the Intergalactic Jet Setters to retain the Strong Openweight Tag Team Championships. This was a pretty good matchup as well. A little not as good as the previous matchup, but a good match nonetheless. Solid work from everybody involved. Post-match, though, we get Nelson touted the successful second defense of the Strong Openweight Tag Team Championships for the World-class Wrecking Crew, but then TJP stopped both men from leaving, grabbing on to the Strong Openweight Tag Team Championships and indicating that he was coming for the titles next. So we'll see who TJP chooses to challenge against the World-class Wrecking Crew. But like I said, a pretty good matchup here. I gave it 3.25 stars. J-News, what did you think about World-class Wrecking Crew and the Jet Setters?
Jeremy Orr just said it. The World-class Wrecking Crew is boring. Those two jabronis, they don't deserve those freaking belts. Had to cheat. How do you cheat? Why would you cheat? You're the champions. You could have just freaking had dudes counted out. Or come on, man, come on. The antics are just too much. It's not. I ain't with the shits, man. I'm not with the shits with these two guys. I'm just not. I'm really, really not. Who does TJP pair with at this point, right?
I was wondering that.
Callum or Great O'Khan.
It's good, right? It would have to be O'Khan or Callum, right? And I'm not. And I don't know. I mean, O'Khan always has a great time wherever he goes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Living his best life.
O'Khan's like, yeah, I'll come to California. Yeah, I'll have a good time over there.
If you want to know what we're talking about, just follow him on X.
Yeah, exactly.
Follow him on X.
Instagram is better. Instagram's even better. I'll tell you that right now. Instagram's even better. Yeah, I think more than likely it's probably going to be TJP and O'Khan. I don't see O'Khan and Callum winning the tag belts, unfortunately, in this upcoming Red Zone thing that they have coming up, or whatever the case is. So I would probably think it's going to be O'Khan and TJP going up against the West Coast Wrecking Crew. I know they call themselves a world-class Wrecking Crew, but ain't nothing world-class about either of those two dudes, but it is what it is in that particular estimation.
So disrespectful.
So I'll land there. A good showing by Kush the God, Kushida, and Kevin the Jet Knight. Can't say anything else about them. We'll see them in Best of Super Juniors both. I think they're on the we'll see what the blocks end up being. Yeah, man. Decent enough match, but I ain't got nothing.
What did you think?
I'm on the me and J-News when it comes to US shows, one thing. We don't like Tom Lawler and we don't like West Coast Wrecking Crew. I can't even say the names. It's too long, okay? I love that Kevin Knight is still present. Obviously, he's going to be the best of Super Junior. There was a bit of miscommunication and some issues going on with him and Kushida, which I like to think would lead to them being in the same block at the Super Juniors. I feel like that would be a nice way to obviously part the Jet Setters.
Right.
Because you mentioned that J-News were like depending on the block.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
It was nice because obviously the main thing for me is they showcased the open weight version, like the nature of it. You had, I assume West Coast Wrecking Crew are both heavyweights, aren't they?
Yeah.
And had because you know what, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to have like a mix of heavyweight and junior. It just means that these belts can be contested with anyone, and to have a full junior team and a full heavyweight team, I think it was really nice. I think Kevin, I've said this, and I was again so annoyed when Kevin. I mean, yay for Kevin for signing for AEW, but
you didn't see my interview? He's signed with New Japan and AEW.
Yeah, I know, but obviously he's like, yeah, but I was like,
he's getting the money from AEW, but he can still work in New Japan. Basically.
Yeah, he's got the nice best of both of them. So like him as future champion, I feel like now I want him to move away from the tag stuff, which is what I was saying at Best of Super Junior to face Kushida, because that man is truly special. He is honestly like, I'm going to be honest, when he was like in the dojo, he wasn't one that stood out to me because you had such a huge class there. But my God, the guy is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And him and Kushida made a match that I don't like the other two in. He made it watchable. They made it watchable.
Yeah, there's so much fun together. That Hurricane Rada spot was the highlight of this whole entire matchup.
And yet again, Kushida, he's another freelancer out here in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. He's got no contract. He's out here doing dates. You know what I'm saying? Bushi Road, get your shit together. That's all I'm saying. Get your shit together.
But isn't Kushida based out in America though? Isn't his whole family?
He is now.
Yeah.
He is now, yeah.
So it makes more sense for him to do the freelancing, similar to TJP. He's got a daughter. It makes sense for him to be a bit more picky with what he can and can't do.
Exactly.
There.
But the final strong title that was up for grabs on the show came next, as it was a 30-minute Iron Man matchup. Tomohiro Ishii challenging Gabe Kidd for the strong openweight championship. They had the challenger and champion wearing each other out right from the early going. We got forearms and chops. Kidd's steady weakening series of forearms sent Ishii to the mat. Ishii started pummeling at Kidd with some forearm strikes of his own. The pair then traded chops for a good 2 minutes, just chop after chop. You could see Kidd's chest getting red. You could see Ishii having the handprints on his chest as well. Ishii started firing back with his comeback, fueled by his own chops. Once more, Kidd started unleashing a torrent of chops himself, crumbling Ishii into the corner. They started trading chops in the crowd as well, toppling each other, going. Kidd was thrown into a row of chairs. He took out 4 rows of chairs. It was ridiculous. The fans held up Ishii as Kidd delivered more punishment, charging at Ishii, missed, and then went through the chairs. Like I said, the chairs scattered. Kidd DDT'd Ishii on a row of chairs again. Then both men moved onto more headbutts in the ring. Kidd eventually got the first fall of the matchup, hitting the Doctor Bomb, the Madman Bomb for the 1-2-3. This was 20 minutes into this matchup already. They were back to trading chops, despite Kidd having control for a bit there, looking at the time, saying, I got all the time in the world. Ishii came back. He got the sliding lariat, but only got a 2. But then Ishii would eventually go from a triangle choke into an arm breaker, where Kidd held on for as long as he can. But for the first time in quite some time, Kidd actually tapped out, which surprised the hell out of me. This was at the 28.5 2.5 minute mark. There was only like a minute and a half left. The pair was brawling as we went to a time limit draw, but we were told before the match even started that if it was a draw after 30 minutes, there would be sudden death. So as soon as they told me that at the start of the matchup, I was like, yeah, this match has to go into sudden death because they just did a 30-minute matchup at Battle in the Valley. This has to be longer. So they announced the sudden death and they just went full throttle for the next like 5 minutes. We get the running lariat, a power driver by Ishii that couldn't finish him off. We get Ishii takes a power driver, but he's able to kick out. Ishii deployed a huge lariat, turning Kid inside out. He eventually hits another one and then follows up with the brain buster right on Kid. Ishii is just able to get slightly his arm over Kid, getting the 1-2-3 to become our new strong open weight champion. I was quite surprised by this result here. I thought that Kid would at least make it to the 1 year mark. All he had to do was get by this defense to make 1 year at Resurgence since he won the strong open weight championship. But what a run he's been on, 11 months as the strong open weight champion, but he is downed by Tomohiro Ishii, his first title win in about 3 to 4 years since he was never open weight champion all those years ago. These two men just went at it. Half the match was pretty much chops, but it was hard hitting. It was intense. They fully used the 30 minutes to their advantage, and the climax, the sudden death, was definitely edge of your seat type stuff. I did not know who was going to win, and I was surprised in the end that Ishii is your new strong open weight champion. I love this match. I thought it was excellent the entire way. It was a straight up banger. Probably not the type of I think that their best place, I think we got to get a Ishii Gabe Kid matchup in like a G1 setting where they can go like 15 minutes full throttle in the same way, but not as extended. I think extending it makes it lesser than the perfect matchup these two guys can have, but this was still a great matchup. I give it 4.25 stars. Sanal, what did you think about the 30-minute Iron Man match?
Can I first say, though, this was really divisive on social media. I saw some people say they hated the shit out of it, and I was like, I don't know, is it because I'm very biased towards Ishii and Gabe that I loved it? And this is coming from someone who I don't really like those kind of matches, you know what I mean? The ones that have time sets. I loved it. I love that they managed to bring a bit of Japan to here. You know, they're going into the chairs and stuff. And can I tell you, when Ishii started bringing out those submissions, I was like, whoa. I was like, we're getting serious. Because Ishii is very big, but he's very fast. However, you don't normally see him do this. I was like, am I watching a Minoru Suzuki match? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's something you don't expect. And that's what I liked. We saw Gabe doing a moonsault. This meant so much to them. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. This was like, okay, we're not that high in the card, but we're going to push it. And I'm kind of surprised. Like, obviously, we know that the IWGP title and Tanahashi, but any other card, if that wasn't there, they'd be the main event. Yeah. And the crowd were fully into it. I was as surprised as you were that Ishii won, but actually it's perfect because Ishii is spending more time out in the States. We've seen that he does a lot of stuff with AEW now. And Ishii is synonymous with the Never title. This strong title is similar, open weight, with Gabe holding it and people have held it, is very strong, like very tough. And yeah, I think it'd be great to see Ishii do it. And yeah, I want another Ishii Gabe match in Japan. Give it me now. But yeah, I personally don't, I can understand, because a lot of the criticism of this match seemed to be people who just generally, I think they just don't like Gabe as a wrestler.
I think they don't like Gabe and they don't like 30-minute matches. Yeah. A lot of people nowadays, like the newer wrestling fans, they don't like those. They don't have the New Japan matches. They don't have that type of like attention span.
Where were they when they had the Kenny versus Okada? You know, that 3 out of 4. They could not have coped in that. They'd have been gone after like 20 minutes. They're like, this is the worst match I've ever seen.
Probably. Knowing these the new age of fans, probably they would be like that. But seems like our chat enjoyed it. J-News, what did you think about Kid versus Ishii 2?
I enjoyed it, man. I think that those two gentlemen put on quite the show. The result was something I wasn't expecting. Very surprising to see Ishii as the new strong open weight champion. But the only thing that tells me is, at least I'm going to assume or presume at this point, taking that belt off of Gabe, that they have big plans for Gabe in Japan. That is my ultimate guess. If they don't have big plans for Gabe in Japan, this match will be all for naught at the end of the day. So my hope is, coming out of this, Gabe challenges for a bigger title, and he wins that bigger title, and he continues his road as the top foreigner in New Japan Pro Wrestling going forward into the rest of 2025 and into 2026 or whatever have you. Excellent match by the two of them. By the time it got to like 20 minutes and they hadn't had the 15, the halfway point, the 15-minute point, and they hadn't had a first fall yet, I was like, when's the falls going to happen in this match? Like,
all the falls happened in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, I was like, dude, like, what the hell is going on? But when they wrapped everything up, and then when they did the whole sudden death thing, I was like, oh, we're gonna have a race to the finish line, and I wonder how this is gonna go. But much to what Sanal was saying about like watching Ishii tap into submission holds and things of that nature and do all the counters, I was like, I don't ever see this from this guy. What's going on here? So this was it was definitely a different take on Ishii and how he went about winning this championship. To Sanal's point, I think honestly it did mean a lot to both of them at the end of the day for them to do this style of a matchup, and credit to both of them in that sense. Gabe, even with all his madman stuff, is a very creative guy inside the ring, and and everything that he does inside that ring has purpose. Don't think that it doesn't. His psychology is really, really good in that ring if you pay close enough attention, or even in and outside of the ring, because it all serves a purpose at the end of the day. And Ishii is a bona fide master of pro wrestling, and I can't take anything away from the Stone Pit Bull. So him being the new open weight champion is a solid decision. I hope they don't make him a transitional champion, to be quite honest. And that's my
New Japan and Ishii, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why the Never title has their span of 43 days as champion. You usually are peaked. My prediction is Tsuji beats Uemura at Dontaku. Kid comes out, challenges him for Dominion. Kid beats Tsuji for the Global Heavyweight Championship, and then they're both in the finals. Tsuji beats Kid and the G1, and Tsuji's going to Wrestle King. I think Tsuji's going to drop the global title before the G1 because he's probably the favorite to win the G1 this year.
Okay. All right. I was who dethrones Takeshita? Or does anyone dethrone Takeshita?
No,
I think Takeshita should hold this title for the whole year. I think Takeshita should go into the Tokyo. Yeah.
The average has already gone up massively since Takeshita.
Exactly. He needs to not only be the most winningest, he needs to be the longest reigning never champion.
I mean, that's not going to be hard, though. That's not hard.
Yeah, I don't.
I could be the longest reigning champion for never.
The thought just came into my mind, and it's a funny thought, but at the end of the day, it is a New Japan thing to do. We're gonna get a certain machine gun character come back to New Japan Pro Wrestling in the next.
I'm walking off now. I'm walking.
Yeah,
off.
I'll be done. So, we're gonna talk about that though because
exactly.
Los Ingobernables de Japón, Tetsuya Naito and Titan were next, going up against El Fantasma and Rocky Romero of Hontai. Early going, Romero and Titan were in there, but Phantasmo came in and really took control for the Hontai team. Naito and Titan had Phantasmo on the ropes, but he hit a big tilt-a-war backbreaker on Titan to regain control. An energetic Romero sprinted with his forever clotheslines and turned both LIJ members out with one. A lot of the mixing up of EOP and Naito was some fun fun stuff between those two. But eventually, the LIJ teammates came together. We get a very bad looking Destino by Naito on Phantasmo before we get a tope suicida by Teton onto ELP on the floor, and then Teton put things away on Rocky with a flying double foot stomp to the chest. 1, 2, 3. The LIJ duo picks up the victory here. This was fine. I think that this should have been ahead of the Iron Man matchup, but it did work well as a come down match after that 30-minute matchup. So it was fine card placement in my opinion for that alone. Post match, we did get Naito and Teton teasing the fan dressed as Jushin Liger, and of course the aforementioned interaction between those two with the fan trying to jump the rail, which was hilarious. Teton was the best in this matchup. I gave it 3 stars here. Sonal, what did you think about this one?
I like that Teton is like he's got the LIJ like swag now, you know, like when they were doing the fist bump and he was just taking a little bit longer. And yeah, I mean, you could say that it should have been before, but like you said, SP3, it was a nice little calm down, you know, a bit of fun. Naito just chilling, you know, t-shirt Naito in America is what everyone comes for. It was nice seeing, and this will link to what happened a bit later on, the what's happening between ELP and Rocky, and obviously their up and down, which led to what happened after the main event. So that will be interesting to see. And yeah, I mean, LIJ, like even though, because obviously Teton is not one of the longer members, they just work so well together. They have fun in the ring, and they're 4 guys who are very popular. So it was nice.
J-News?
Yeah, you know, it was I was a little taken aback by this match happening for the simple fact that not the match happening, that Teton was involved in the match. Let me take that back. Being that Teton's not even in the best of Super Juniors this year. So
he's not coming to Japan. That made sense to me.
I get all that, but it's like this is probably going to be the only time this year we see Teton, man. And it's like, I'm a fan.
I mean, he'll probably be in the Best of Super Junior Tag League later on in the year, maybe. With Bushi.
Yeah.
Him and Bushi. Anyways, I just thought it was surprising and whatnot, being that he wasn't going to be a part of Best of Super Juniors this year and all that jazz. But besides that, it was a decent enough match. T-shirt Naito, as we like to call him, ever present in the U.S. because he never gives it 100%. His 60% is his 100%, and it works 100% at the time. So you know, it is what it is there. ELP and Rocky with their, you know, pun intended, Rocky relationship.
Hey, I like that.
seems to be a thing. So we'll see as to how that continues to develop on the Road 2 shows coming up this week and stuff like that. So and then obviously what we had, the face off between ELP and the new ace of Japanese wrestling, I want to say, not just New Japan.
You're jumping ahead, sir. You're jumping ahead. We're gonna get there. Next we had Zack Sabre Jr. going up against the Bullet Club War Dogs leader and NJ Cup winner David Finley here. We said that this was an unofficial number 1 contenders matchup, but we didn't get any confirmation of that in after this or prior to this. Finley came out furious in the early going, upset over his loss against Goto at Sakura Genesis, of course, but Sabre Jr. used his techers to gain control in this one, wearing down Finley for a bit here. Finley carved out some space with the Irish Curse backbreaker. Sabre Jr. offset Finley's newfound momentum with a suplex in the corner to regain control. Finley hit Sabre Jr. with the Irish Curse once again and then flipped him over across the ring. The pair battled back and forth. It was really a battle of Finley's strength and power game, which he always hits these big power moves, which you would think that a guy his size shouldn't be able to move, but they always say he's pound for pound the strongest guy in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and especially now that Jeff Cobb's gone, he definitely is. Saber clutch with a Bridget Nelson pin, but only got the 2 count. Finley came back with a big forearm to the back, and then followed up with the into oblivion, only getting a near fall. They once again started trading and counters. The counter work between these two is always spectacular to watch. They always keep you engaged with who's going to come up with the upper hand between them. Is it going to be Finley with his strength, or is it going to be the techers of Saber Jr.? Saber Jr. was able to withstand all these power bomb attempts, and a big power bomb that almost got him the pinfall, but he kicked out at 2. The Chicago crowd was booing with disdain after Saber Jr. hit his first Zack driver, and the referee counted 3 on the mat despite Finley getting his shoulder up before the 3 count. That got some boos from the Chicago crowd, but it was once again Saber Jr. who was able to squeak out the victory after a couple of submission attempts. He hits a second Zack driver, this one with the late clutch for the 1-2-3. Zack Sabre Jr. picking up a win, avenging his loss in the New Japan Cup semifinals against Finley here in a very good matchup. I love the chemistry between Finley and Sabre Jr. They always have good matches against each other, even dating back to Finley's time as in Hontai when he was in there. And ever since he's been with the Bullet Club War Dogs, they never miss. This was not as good as their New Japan Cup semifinal matchup, but a very good matchup nonetheless. I give it 3 3/4 stars. J-News, what did you think?
I want to ask everyone the question that needs to be asked right now. What's the point? What's the point of the Boss Dog in New Japan Pro Wrestling? What is the point?
Yo, J-News, I knew this was coming. I should have known.
What is the point?
Biggest David
Finley hater. What it all mean?
Biggest David Finley hater. Every time this guy loses, this guy wants to walk him out the door.
Someone tell me what the point is, man. What is the point of David Finley continuing his wrestling career in New Japan Pro Wrestling?
Because he lost? Because he lost 2 matches?
No.
You're saying what's the point?
It ain't 2 matches, man. It ain't 2 matches.
It's ridiculous.
It ain't 2 matches.
This is ridiculous.
It ain't 2 matches, man.
This is a new form of hating. This is a new form of hating.
Where are we going with this, man? Where are we going with this? That's all I'm asking. Where are we going with this?
He's in the main event of Dontaku. What the hell are you talking about?
The main event of Dontaku?
Yes.
What are you talking about?
May 3rd, he's in the main event. Dog pound steel cage match.
Is he winning a championship?
Doesn't matter. He's gonna win the faction war. He's gonna be the leader.
And then they're gonna exile House of Torture. Like
you know damn well, Sonal, that's not gonna happen.
Hey, let me have a dream.
That's not gonna happen.
Let me dream, okay? I've had a tough day. Jeff Cobb left. Let me believe the House of Torture are getting exiled.
Anyways, regardless of the fact, it was a decent enough match. To SP3's point, it didn't come close to what they had at the Cup and whatnot, but it was a decent enough match. With and Zack Sabre Jr. always gives us 100% at the end of the day. The crowd was a little bit out of it, but I think it had to do more with the previous match than the actual match itself. So you know,
they were still recovering from the Iron Man match, to be fair.
Yeah. So they're
in the front row was still trying to get their bags and stuff after they got flinged across the venue.
You know, there was that of it. And yeah, like it was like I said, a decent enough match. Nothing wrong with it per se. But they've done better one-on-one. So outside of that, you know, I already said my bit.
Sanal, what did you think about Finley and ZSJ?
You know I love the two of them. Two of the most consistent workers. It wasn't as good as Edgeon, but I think it would be really hard to be as good as that, because that was like, for most of us, it was one of our top matches of the tournament.
Yeah.
But it was good. Finley was healing it up. Yeah, some middle fingers. The ref thing was a bit weird to me. I thought I was hallucinating. I was like, bearing in mind, this was at was it like 3:30 in the morning? I was like, what? Was there a 3 count or not? But yeah, it's good. Obviously, I didn't think Finley was going to win with the whole dog pound steel cage match coming up. So yeah, it was good. It was, I think, yeah, it was it's weird placement because obviously technically it should have been lower than the cage match and lower than just lower than the cage match, but still high. But it was good. De facto title shot, but I was getting tired by this point, so a lot of it's a blur. A lot of it, and SP3 could. I always say this, like, I don't have to do this as often as Americans have to do it for New Japan shows, but like when I have to do these kind of shows, I really respect all you American New Japan fans.
This is why I let SP3 take the reins. He's the one who always watches live. I will always watch post the next day. I'd be damned if I'm up at that time in the morning to watch no damn New Japan. I'm a fan.
Well, this would have been perfect for you. This was at 8. This was at 8? Ended at like 11:30.
It was at 8
for you.
It was at 8, but it was a Friday night, man. A Friday night.
When he's got things to do, he
got things to do. Excuse me.
The J-News was out and about, if you know what I'm saying. So
he's not stuck at home watching no New Japan. He's living his best life.
He was out here fighting and bopping. All right, fair enough. We got next the semi-main event, which I was surprised. It wasn't until they did the show opening that we when we discussed this show, the listing on NJPW 1972 had this matchup as the main event, and then it had Hiroshi Tanahashi's last match as the semi-main event, but they switched it up before the show, and it was next the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship up for grabs. Hirooki Goto defending against Shota Umino. Goto got the early control after Umino had some early offense working over his leg. The challenger returned the favor in kind and dropped his knee into Goto's knee. He twisted at Goto's leg. He locked on an STF at one point, but Goto was able to reach the ropes. He hits a big suplex, and they start exchanging some big forearms between one another. Umino laid out Goto with a pop-up powerbomb. They had some suplex exchanges. Goto eventually cranked on a sleeper, shades of his boy Shibata-san at another point in this one. He looked like he was going to go for the PK, which he does hit, but he doesn't follow up with a pinfall. Umino flew at him with a knee to the head. I thought he was about to put him away. He drops him with a big lariat. He looked like he was going for the last chapter, but Goto kept fighting. Goto eventually, as Umino would try to fight out of the GTR at several attempts, he would hit at him and find his way out of it, but eventually Goto was able to track the arm, the hammerlock version of the GTR, put Shota Umino away as Goto retains the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, and I was very happy to hear the Chicago crowd was firmly behind Goto here, and Shota Umino, that reaction that he got in Japan, it did transfer over to the States here. Post-match, Goto did greet the crowd, thanking them for coming out and thanking them for their support throughout this matchup here. But this wasn't on the high end. I would say since Goto won the championship, this was the worst match that he's had. Not bad per se, but nothing to write home about. I give it 3.25 stars, and a lot of that comes down to Shota Umino should have never been in this goddamn matchup. It was too soon to go to Shooter challenging for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, and the match turned out how it did because of that, in my opinion. So now, what did you think about this semi-main event?
Yeah, it was. You guys know I'm like the biggest Shota fan. I'm always here to defend him. I just don't think this was the right match. The pacing of it, like Goto, obviously, he really can help his opponent. It just felt a bit slow and sluggish to me. And again, I'm not saying this, don't go, oh, Sono, but you always support and see you're on it. I'm not. But I am the kind of person that I can admit when something isn't great. Do you know what I mean? This isn't me now suddenly turning my back on Shota. I can admit it wasn't great. They need, like, Goto. I love that Goto got so much love from the American crowd. He's like, I don't speak English, and then but they feel it, you know. I mean, he doesn't often do as many US shows or like foreign shows as a lot of the other wrestlers. So this was nice. I don't know what they're doing with Shota. Like, it's got to the point that it's like New Japan just I've never seen a wrestler have such a weird, like, booking thing as Shota Umino. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
I'm not saying he's the best wrestler in the world. He deserves titles, but I'm not saying he's the worst. I'm just saying that the lack of cohesion, like I'm on social media and that's the biggest Shota supporter, but even Shota supporters are like, we kind of just want him to be in the mid card now, because by keeping him in the top with booking that New Japan doesn't know what's going on, Shota is getting the blame for this. Do you know what I mean? He is getting the hate when actually it's like he's not doing the booking. Keep him in the mid card. No one is gonna complain. And keep him there until you know what you're doing with him. Stop thrusting him down people's throats, which is just making people dislike him even more.
This is like a less offensive version of the Death Riders, where Tony Khan is not listening to the crowd, where they're telling him, we're not into this Death Riders thing. You need to pivot. You need to move on. And he's just not listening to it. That's similar to what New Japan is doing with Shota Umino, where the crowd is telling you, we don't want him in this position, and they just keep putting him in this position regardless. They won't pivot away from it. They look like they're going to pivot, and then they just go right back to it, and then you get matches that are subpar for where Goto's reign has been at.
That's the universe canon. That's the canon of the universe. I am convinced now that this is the canon. This is the canon. This is the universe we're living in, with Shota Umino doing his best. He is now a tie-in to the Death Riders. This is what we're getting. This is it. We have to come to a level of acceptance that this boring version, this shaved down version of Shota Umino is part of the Death Riders, because they're making us hate him through the fact that he's being booked on top and he doesn't give us much of anything, which is what John's been doing since he was a Death Rider, and all this whole thing has been created, or whatever the case is. And yeah, now he's just a voiceless enigma walking around having these matches that don't do much for him. Mind you, I'm of the opposite opinion. I thought this was actually a strong match for Shooter in the ring, nuts and bolts wise, but he wasn't getting the reaction that was necessary for what he was doing in the ring. So, and you know, there's been this whole conversation and discussion online about, oh, you know, Moxley's playing 5D chess and he's really messing with the fans, and they're probably doing the same thing with Shooter. And I'm like, do you really want the angst of the fans or the heat from the fans to come from that vantage point? Is really the question, right? Okay. And for me, the way it's coming off, I'm not with it necessarily, you know. And to coin a phrase, it's not working for me, brother. So at the end of the day, I feel like they should go another route. We've been waiting for this whole Shooter to go heel thing, and I think this is Shooter the heel. Shooter just being, Death Rider's a Jace at this point. So,
well, it's just, I just feel like it's exhausting for everyone. It's
right.
Exhausting for fans of Shota, because we're like, we just seem to get loads of hate, and we want to see something from him. We want to see some sort of story in our mind, and it's annoying for people who maybe aren't Shota fans, because like I said before, he's just being thrust at them with no idea of how they should feel. They don't want him to be a babyface, but they keep pushing that he's in Hontai, he wants to lead Hontai, and it's like New Japan with their booking has just made Shota like public enemy number one.
That's the point.
Yeah,
I think, to be quite honest, I feel like that's the point.
But
right?
like, you need to just pull the fucking trigger at this point. I agree with Dustin. He's like, can they just turn Shota heel already, for the love of everything? You need to embrace what the crowd is giving you and just turn them heel.
Like, I know that New Japan does long-term storytelling, but dude, you need to speed this up, because this is not doing anyone any good.
And for storytelling purposes in the conventional sense, I agree with the both of you. But I feel this is New Japan / AEW's way of making Shooter heel. That's what I'm saying. It's not. It's Cody. It's Cody in AEW. It's Cody towards the end of AEW, where it feels like either the company or him refuses to turn heel.
I mean, I feel like Shota. I feel like he's not got that much influence that he could just.
That's
be
what I'm
like,
saying.
I'm not.
Yeah, that's why I said the company. That's why I said the company or him. Where the only reason I said or him is because Cody, it was him that didn't want to turn heel.
Yeah, that and yet again, it's my own personal opinion. People could think I'm completely wrong about it, and that's fine. But I feel like we're in it right now, and we're just us as fans. We're in denial, but we're in it.
We're on the road to the heel Shota.
This is heel Shota, is what I'm saying. What we're getting right now.
Oh God,
is heel Shota.
No, that shouldn't be.
We're on the way to the heel Shota.
This is no Grandmaster at all. But we did get a little surprise video message on this show, as next we saw AEW's own Matthew and Nicholas Jackson, the Young Bucks. They declared their intentions of challenging the Bullet Club War Dogs for NJPW Resurgence in Ontario, California, their hometown, on May 9th, Friday, May 9th. And they teased that they would be, because the Bullet Club War Dogs had the numbers advantage, that they need to call up some OG friends and they need to talk some shiz. Wouldn't that be too sweet? Which every indication seems to say they are bringing in the Good Brothers, Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson, the Machine Gun, back to New Japan Pro Wrestling. So we will probably see that at NJPW Resurgence on May 9th. Sonal, you look very happy about this.
I'll have to skip the match. I'm done with those two. I thought the last time that they fucked off from New Japan, that was it. Why do they keep coming back? Why do they keep...
Because they keep getting fired.
Yeah, they keep shooting their mouth off after they get fired. Like, I don't get it. Did they not realize... I mean, I guess they're doing it in America, but when they were in Japan, no one gave a shit. Do you know what I mean? It's just... Even when I was in Japan for Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty, the crowds didn't give a shit about Nicholas and Matt Jackson. Like, that's I mean, I don't know if that came across. No one cared. And it's like, maybe it'll work better with the US crowd, but I'm worried that what SP3, didn't you say that you think that the Never title is going to go back to... No, don't. Like... Yeah,
it was made for him. So at the end of the day... Look, they've always had a good standing relationship with Bushiroad and Gato. They just have. They never.
But they can't have it with anyone else because they can't stay in one place for that long.
But they never burnt the New Japan bridge. They always need somewhere to go back to at the end of the day. So they never burned that bridge. So at the end of the day, I'm just saying they're gonna be there. Now, do I have an affinity for Gallows and Anderson? At this stage in their careers, not really, especially after the bullshit that Carl pulled the last time he was in New Japan.
That's what I'm saying.
So that, the big LG, he takes hits because of Carl at the end of the day. But Luke hasn't really done anything wrong. He's just there. He's just there on for the ride.
He's there to get paid.
It's all about making them dollars, right? So, and for all intents and purposes, we're probably going to see them on AEW TV too. So, hey, Sid, we're going to have a great summer.
Just keep
oh, God, please, no.
Keep them bloody over there.
So,
please, no. I don't want them in AEW.
Hey, man, it's all about who you know, brother. It's all about who you know.
SP3, AEW, they got Okada, they got Jay, they got Will Ospreay. You can at least take those two.
No, we're good. We're good. We like these are people that we actually do like. Jay White, Okada, Will Ospreay. I wouldn't want Good Brothers there. But unfortunately, that's what we're gonna get.
Probably
but War Dogs versus Elite coming up at Resurgence.
But is it going to be a 4-on-4, or is it? Will it have more members of the group involved? Is really the question.
I think it's going to be 4-on-4. It'll probably be Gabe, Finley, Drilla, and Taiji Ishimori versus Young Bucks and Good Brothers.
Fair enough.
And regardless of how they feel about them in Japan, the Young Bucks always do get a good reaction on New Japan shows in the States.
that's what I'm saying. Like, I guess like it works for there, but yeah, when I was at Wrestle Kingdom, it just felt like it. Like if it was just the Young Bucks and then they would have had like the Empire, it just wouldn't have hit. It's had Naito and Hiromu. That's how you elevated it. And obviously Hiromu and his amazing octopus. So that was
of course. And then finally, Windy City Riot main event was Hiroshi Tanahashi's last match in the United States of America, as he went one-on-one with the never openweight champion Konosuke Takeshita. Early on, Tanahashi avoided the early onslaught from Takeshita, who hit a hammer-like DDT, but Takeshita's youth and power proved hard for him to surpass. We get him hitting a bastard driver early on, almost getting a near fall with that one, but Tanahashi was able to kick out. Tanahashi came back. He responded with a sling blade, but then Takeshita dropped him with a brain buster to a huge thud onto the mat. Tanahashi was able to kick out even after Takeshita went to the top rope, showing his height, hitting the high fly flow like he was a young Tanahashi in this matchup, where Tanahashi kicked out at 1 and this crowd erupted. From there on, this matchup was absolutely stellar. Takeshita slammed Tanahashi with a blue thunder bomb, got another near fall there. You get Tanahashi fired up. He attacks Takeshita, hitting the dragon suplexes. He ran with another sling blade. He followed up with 2 high fly flows, but Takeshita was able to kick out. Takeshita kept going for the raging fire, but it was Tanahashi was proving his mettle, proving his determination and his fighting spirit throughout this matchup. And then it was Takeshita who completely just started to overwhelm Tanahashi. He hits 1 power drive knee. Tanahashi's able to get up, get to his knees. He hits another power drive knee. The ace is still able to get up somehow, some way. He hits a 3rd power drive knee, and Tanahashi kicks out still. At last, Tanahashi was put down as Takeshita showing his DDT love, hitting the Samoto. Then he followed up with the Raging Fire for the 1-2-3. Takeshita pulling out the victory here against a game Tanahashi. This man on half a knee, still putting on great matches. His match with Goto was a spectacular performance, but here, this is probably the best match of this Hiroshi Tanahashi final road. They crowd in Chicago. They finally sound loud because this was the match that they were here for. Takeshita was bringing his game, proving once again why he is a top 5 in-ring performer in pro wrestling right now. Top 5, dead or alive, it is Konosuke Takeshita, but Hiroshi Tanahashi is one of a kind. He's once in a generation. He is a special performer where even at his extended age, in his late 40s, on a half a knee, can still deliver the emotions, the drama that you expect from a main event matchup. You guys gave love to Ishii and Gabe Kidd. I think that this was the best match of the show. These guys went out here and delivered an absolutely fantastic matchup. Match of the night in my eyes, spoiler alert. And Takeshita showing some love, helping Tanahashi to his feet, bowing to him as well. He left for the back. At that point, Takeshita got into a brief kind of awkward confrontation with El Phantasmo, potentially teasing a never openweight championship matchup. Takeshita will team with a mystery partner to verse ELP and Jado at the upcoming Dontaku shows, but the locker room emptied out to surround Tanahashi on the outside, chanting his name, "Thank you, Ace," across the Wintrust Arena in Chicago, Illinois. Tearful fans joined in cheering for Tanahashi. Tanahashi got emotional and exclaimed that he'll be retired and just serving as NJPW president soon. The roster would be in good hands. Looking across the ring, around the ringside area, he concluded by stating that he'll miss the American crowds, but he thanked them for their support. What a final performance by Hiroshi Tanahashi in America. This was an absolutely an absolutely superb storytelling matchup. It was about this history between the two men dating back from their matchup in DDT in 2014, and they told that story to perfection with Takeshita pulling out the DDT special of the Samoto, the double power drive knee strike, and then finishing off with the Raging Fire. This one I give 4.5 stars. Like I said, I thought that this was absolutely superb. J-News, what did you think about Takeshita Tanahashi, the main event?
You know, I'm always critical, or should I say, I have been critical of Tana in recent years due to how vast the deterioration of his body has been and how fast it came. But this match here allowed me to re-engage with who Tanahashi is and what he's meant to New Japan Pro Wrestling over the last 20 years. And just the sense of feeling and emotion, that connection that he has with the crowd, his ability to get that emotion out of the crowd depending on specific moments. And if you're paying attention to the match, just like SP3 said when he was picking out a moment in the match, when he kicked out at one from that 5-star frog splash from Takeshita, that match spun on its head. And that was all due to that decision of kicking out at one and then just strong style hit the way after that. And you got to give Tana credit for that and still being able to do that and willing to do that. And he gave so much to Takeshita in this match. He gave so much. And I felt, people can see it differently or whatever the case is, but I felt in a way this was a symbolic passing of the torch. I had mentioned it earlier. I will say it now. I feel like Konosuke Takeshita is the ace of Japanese wrestling, let alone New Japan Pro Wrestling at this point. Just because of the way that things are broken down in Japanese wrestling right now. But, you know, it was a terrific match. I was into it from beginning to end. Takeshita can do no wrong. The Prez, the ace, whatever you want to call him, man. One of the greatest of all time, as a matter of fact, is what we're going to call him. Sad that we never got to see that match between him and John Cena. But at the end of the day,
hey, but at the end of the day, they're retiring a month apart, so right. they're still spiritually connected.
Exactly. So you know, the ace of the universe has, as we've grown to know him, will continue his road to retirement the rest of 2025. But this match was terrific. There wasn't anything wrong with it. The show of respect after the match was over. I always look for that because sometimes, you know, some guys they'll heal it up and they want to be characters and everything else between, which is fine. You know, business is business at the end of the day. But in this instance, I thought it was justified for the story. I think that New Japan does something that folks don't give them enough credit for, and that's the build up to these matches that have that emotional tug to them and have history to them. They build them up very, very well, especially through their video packages. And credit to New Japan production team and everybody else who's part of creative over there for doing just that with the match between Takeshita and Tanahashi. But a terrific match, and I can't say anything more than that. Definitely looking forward to hopefully a future match between ELP and Takeshita for that Never Openweight Championship. And I will predict that Takeshita's mystery tag team partner will be his husband, Kyle Fletcher.
Okay. Sanal, what did you think about the main event?
Yeah, I mean, we spent months, like years, complaining about Tanner's knees, but he's got a new life within these like past few months. On his he's not had a single bad match. Do you know what I mean? It's felt like everything is worth it, and I keep saying this that yes, we always emphasize the New Japan is for the wrestling. It's about the wrestling. But the reason why Tanahashi is the ace, why he's 1 in 100 talent, why he is loved, is his ability to tell stories in the ring. The way that he works with the people, whether they're the young stars, obviously he had those matches against the Young Lions. He's got one against Yasuda, I think, coming up. Whether it's the present guys like Takeshita, whether it's the veterans like Nagata, Kojima, he has that ability to pull you in. And even when he's on his last legs, like, I'm not going to say, like, in this match, there were some moments his knees looked at, like, are still not great. But actually, every narrative around it, everything he did, just played into it. Like, everything fitted perfectly together. And Takeshita, the good thing about Takeshita, and we've always said this, the difference between a good wrestler and an amazing wrestler is being able to adapt. Takeshita didn't try and go 50,000 miles an hour. He knows Tanahashi is working much slower than when he was 19 and they had that match. So he adapted that and slowed his pace down to make Tanahashi look good. I like that way he did his own little high fly flow and things like that. And it was just the little details of, like, as J-News said, the passing of the torch from one ace to the next.
This delivered big time. It's over exceeded my expectations. Over delivered for sure. But we've made it to the end of our Windy City Riot review. Sound off in the live chat. Final call, last call for super chat donations if you want to show us some love in that way. But of course, you can also show some love by giving your ratings for this show. What did you give it out of 10? Did you give it a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle? And who was your MVP, LVP, and match of the night? For me, J-News and Sanal. In 3, 2, 1. Thumbs up across the board from all of us. Out of 10, I'm going to give this show an 8 out of 10. Sanal, what about you?
I'm going to give it a 7. I don't think it was the best New Japan show. And there were some matches where I'm just like, I was a bit like, meh. But actually, when you look at the core matches, that like the 30-minute match, Zack versus Finley, and then obviously the main event, they were very strong. And actually, just generally the emotions of that final match, it was a perfect ending, and I'm very glad that they chose to have that as the main event.
Yeah, that was the right choice for sure. J-News?
Yeah, I'm with Pile Driver Finisher. I gave it a 7.5. Understanding the ladies had always having to work with the time constraints, but I think they did a bang up job. Finley and ZSJ was a good enough match. Goto had his match against Shooter. I personally like that match. Myself, I thought it was Shooter's best in-ring performance of recent months. Obviously, the main event and the way that it went, just the emotional part of it all, really tapped me back into my memories of a younger Tanahashi and how he used to have those crowds in the palm of his hands. And I'm just grateful that he could still do that. So even given his physical condition and all that stuff, man. So yeah, 7.5 for me, and strong show. And then we got some build for future New Japan strong shows, especially with the surges coming up. So we're probably going to see some things take place there. We're probably going to see ELP versus Takeshita at the Resurgence show, being that this was also it makes sense in that regard. And whoever TJP decides to make his tag partner, I'm going for Okan. They'll probably team up against those West Coast Wrecking Crew boys. So there's that. But yeah, solid show, 7.5 for me.
Match of the night, I got to give it to Tanahashi and Takeshita. J-News?
Yeah, man. Match of the night for me, Tanahashi versus Takeshita as well. Honorable mention, obviously, to Ishii and Gabe. But yeah, match of the night, definitely Tana versus Takeshita.
Sanal?
Yeah, same. It's the ability of pro wrestling to make you feel something. And that match had everyone in emotions.
MVP for the show, I'm going to give it to Tomohiro Ishii for surprising the hell out of me and becoming the strong openweight champion. Sanal?
Tanahashi. He's been really, honestly, we've spent years saying Tanahashi on his last legs, but this year he's really shown up and shown out. Every match seems like a new Tanahashi. He's pushing the young guys, giving them a platform, whether it's the young lions or the veterans. And I just think he was the star of that show, and it was a fitting way to, end his time in New Japan in America.
Using his last bit of gas for this matchup. Definitely a good choice. J-News?
Yeah, man. I'm gonna go with Tana for his final match in the USA. Yeah, just a great bit of professional wrestling, and still having that ability to make us feel is definitely a skill that not everybody has.
Absolutely. And LVP for the show, J-News.
LVP for the show. Where do I start? Where do I start? Oh man. You know what? I'm gonna give it to the West Coast Wrecking Crew because they had to cheat their way to a freaking win unnecessarily, and yeah, they're just a bunch of jabronis at the end of the day. So, gotta give it to those guys.
I'm gonna give it to Shota Umino for being in another world title matchup and failing once again. Sanal?
Can I do two?
Yeah, of course.
West Coast Wrecking Crew and Tom Lawler. I know
Hey,
they're like,
there you go, Team Filthy for the fucking loss, baby.
they're like the staples of the New Japan Strong shows, but I'm sick of it. Like, I just don't get any enjoyment. I'm very positive, but whenever they're there, I just don't get anything out of them.
That is fair. That is fair. A couple of LVPs for the West Coast Wrecking Crew as well. But we've made it to the end of our review here. I want to thank you, everyone, for joining us live. I want to thank J-News and Sanal for joining us as always. Sanal will give you the floor first. Let everybody know where they can follow you on social media and when they'll see you again on the YouTubes.
So you can find me on social media at wrestling_chat, but make sure to subscribe to me at Sanal's Live. I posted straight after the show, so on like 5 hours sleep, a review of the Windy City Riot card. And actually, if you subscribe next week, you will see my interview with the upcoming Best of Super Junior participant, Ninja Max. So if that's not enough to subscribe, I don't know what is.
Let them know. Let them know. J-News.
Yeah, folks. I'll be off of New Japan reviews for a while. Just because it's the Road 2 shows at the Taco with the Tacos not for till the beginning of next month. So still got a ways to go. But you can always catch me Sunday afternoons, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Hit the Ropes podcast on my YouTube channel along with the lovely Dolores. And yeah, whenever SP3 wants to have me on for whatever, I'll let you guys know via the socials. So yeah, just tap in there.
You can follow me on the Twitter machine at TrueHillSP3. Follow the gang, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at True Hill Heat. And we are just getting started on a busy week for us at True Hill Heat with WrestleMania 41 week. This is our first stream of many that we're going to have this week. We got dropping later today our Progress Las Vegas preview for their show coming up on Thursday. We got Rated Raw review tomorrow, as well as our exclusive interview with Joey Janela dropping tomorrow, as we're going to discuss Joey Janela's Spring Break 9. But yes, like I said before, check us out 7 p.m. Eastern Time, dropping today our Progress Las Vegas preview, discussing the show this Thursday in Las Vegas. So join us for that, and I will be back here live on tomorrow 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time with Rated Raw review, reviewing tonight's Monday Night Raw. But check out that Progress preview that I did that I pre-recorded, so you could check it out at 7 p.m. Eastern Time as well. But thank you so much, J-News. Thank you so much, Sanal. It is me, your True Hill Phenom, SP3. This has been our NJPW Windy City Riot 2025 pre-review. We are signing off until next time.